Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. A driver saves a waitress from her ex. He continues driving but crashes during a blizzard. Now injured and trapped in a ravine, he spots a beast stalking him. With dwindling time, he must find a way to survive the cold and the predator. Yes, folks, this is our raw reaction review for Cold Meat. Alrighty, Luke. Well, luckily for us, it's been a mild winter here in the old Ohio area. I would say that we haven't had to deal with very much snow, unlike our characters in here who are dealing with kind of an exuberantly ridiculous amount of blizzard snow. Like these guys are really going through it. And I can say that I'm lucky enough that I've never been trapped in a car on the side of the road in a snowstorm. Have you?
I have not. No, I can't say that I have.
Okay, well that's good because that is basically the entirety of this film. So yeah, we just got a chance to check out Cold Meat. This is a film by a gentleman named Sebastian Doran. And yeah, this thing came across my radar. I was the one that kind of reached out about this. I hadn't consulted you or anything, and it was my mistake because I did not realize how quickly this was going to be, hitting. It was hitting this Friday, so we're getting our review out today. But yeah, what really set me off about this and why I chased this down, and you can kind of get it from our intro there, is that it's got some creature elements to it. Not just any creature, it's talking about a Wendigo, which, that is an easy sell for me, and I know a pretty good sell for Luke. So, Luke, tell me, I mean, what did you think when I threw this across your table there?
I was definitely intrigued. There are a lot of smaller creature features coming out, and it's interesting to see what they're going to do, what kind of interesting spin they're going to put with that smaller budget, and just kind of really dive into that creativity. And of course, at least from a big box office standpoint, I would say we're pretty starved for any Wendigo content. We don't really have that much out there. There's a lot of I guess C movies, you would say, and depends on
Mm-hmm.
really how they tackle it. So I was intrigued to see what their take was going to be, because this does open up a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it did offer some very interesting low budget feel kind of Wendigo content that we could have gotten here. And, as far as Wendigo movies go, I think that like Antlers is a really good example of one that I enjoyed. And I'm really looking forward to Until Dawn. I know we did a video on that. I think we're both big David F. Sandberg fans. So, I think that could really be the next big Wendigo property. But yeah, they don't get as much love as I feel like they should, because I think like they're very interesting lore. They're very interesting creatures. It's very, very tied with indigenous kind of folklore and everything. There's so much to them that it does surprise me. They kind of go the way of the werewolf in a lot of ways when it comes to cinema. They're not as well represented. So I was pumped up for this. I was excited, and I gotta say, this movie, whoever cut this trailer together did a good job of selling a different movie than what we get, because it looks nothing like the trailer. I saw the trailer after I watched the film, and yeah, I was just kind of like, wow, they show literally everything that involves our beast and our creature. No, this is more of a thriller, and I don't want to get too much into necessarily what the dynamics are, because that was a nice twist. But yeah, no, I was pretty let down by the amount of Wendigo action we get in this.
Yes, absolutely. I think if we're gonna go Wendigo elements strictly, is a pretty big letdown. You're not really
Mm-hmm.
diving into any sort of creature feature for the most part. So I think you kind of have to go in being aware of that. Maybe that'll affect your, initial preparation in terms of viewing this. Because as I went into this, I thought, we would get those kind of character dynamics of that human story. And then as we drop our beast in there, in a sense, we'd be dealing with a completely different dynamic. But I got to say, from what content we did get here, it does leave you underwhelmed. I would say even conceptually, I think there are some good elements in here for a short film,
Oh yeah.
not an hour and a half. It's one of those the interesting dynamics. I'll say as we get into about a half hour in, there is spin on this, a little bit of a twist, which really caught me off guard, and I thought that was rather interesting. So it got me
Mm-hmm.
excited to see the rest of the dynamics of the film. And I got to say, we don't get much movement in terms of plot. It is really just kind of sitting there and chatting for the most part. So, overall, I gotta say, conceptually, I think it would be such a well done short film, but as a feature, doesn't really work.
Yeah, and I think that it's just for me going into it kind of really and I know I can say this with confidence because the trailer really does build it up as being this kind of creature outside of a car, attacking these people, and it's just not that kind of a movie. So I feel comfortable by saying we're not really spoiling anything by saying that. I would have liked, and I said this just a tad before, if this movie would have been almost billed as the thriller that it is and the kind of survival thriller. And then they would have left the Wendigo stuff out of the marketing entirely. And then that would have been almost a nice little double twist where it's like, oh, wow, this is really getting kind of strange. And then you really could have played with that. But yeah, I think that just the way that they're pushing this film, the way the poster looks and everything, it's just one of those where unfortunately I just can't sit there and really say that I was overly satisfied, because I think that the movie itself, it's not bad. I think that for a thriller it's worth a watch, but it's not it's not the movie that it's being pushed as.
No, not at all. And they do give you certain elements. I think they underdeliver, but at the end of the day, they delivered something. I think, and I wasn't really sure as we were getting toward the end if we were going to get there. But I got to say, you do in some sense at least. Overall, I think, like I keep going back, I think this would be an interesting short film. It gets monotonous. I think,
Hmm.
kind of retreading a lot of. Dynamics discussion. And I think as we look at it, and you boil it down, this is a film that doesn't have many characters in it, but for me, the dialogue got a little pretentious. I think where it,
At
it seems,
times, yes,
yes,
yeah,
I
definitely
think
agree with that.
we kind of present our characters, everyone in the know, and I think you kind of have to have not. I think you have to have characters that are outside of that box, to really make character dynamics work. So it does get monotonous, a little eye rolly at times for me, and sometimes we get a little on the nose in terms of what we're talking about and things like that. So I don't think that those character dynamics as well as the dialogue really work for me. I got to say, Alan Leach,
Oh yeah.
as our leading man here, was really well done. He plays, without spoiling anything, I think the dynamics of his personality really come off well, especially when you're kind of confined to the car and really making use of that. So I got to say, he was really the shining light of this.
I agree. He was definitely in the element in this that I found the most interesting. And not to say that his kind of main co-star Nina Bergman, she was also really well done. But I would say that in comparison, you could really tell that one character got a lot more attention as far as the writing goes than the other. And it was easy to see at times that, like, okay, yeah, they're not really giving her enough of a pushback that she could have with this character. And that was clear to see, but I think that she gave the best that she could with that. And I think there are moments in this where I definitely enjoyed her performance. I liked there's an element to this, obviously without spoiling it, where they're kind of going through some things. She's looking through some stuff and she's naming names, and I thought that was really well done. And I think there is one scene in this that I really liked, and it was kind of a flashback scene. That's all I'll say. And I thought that was cool, going through kind of someone's psyche and kind of diving into their thoughts and everything. I thought that that was all well done. And honestly, I would have liked it if we just would have either committed to the Wendigo thing full force or left it as a surprise. But even then, if we just wouldn't have had it at all and then just went straight into, okay, yeah, this is what the film is, and we just lean on that thriller element, I think that it could have been, pretty good if we just would have tightened some things up on that side. But it really just left me kind of confused at the end and kind of being like, man, that didn't deliver where I wanted it to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. This was something where we have a strong start. I
Hmm.
think
I think so too.
They have a lot of pretty great elements, and then it kind of just falls flat. If we would have really had that strong start and then pivoted into what we were all hoping for in terms of a heavy creature feature and maybe a different location, maybe expand upon it just a little bit. And I'm not saying we have to get into a full town or anything. But maybe if it was even just a cabin, I think maybe that would have been a little bit
Mhm.
more space to play with the dynamic. Overall, I think the story is a little too confined. Not much movement in terms of being able to be an actual feature film to justify that runtime. Overall, I think, a lot of great sprinkles of intrigue and potential there, just never fully got to where I wanted this to be. So yeah, I think, if you go into this for looking for a creature feature, I think you're going to be underwhelmed. I think, going into this from even a story perspective, I think it's going to become a little monotonous. And I think, an audience could very well, certainly a horror audience, will leave unsatisfied.
Yeah, and for me, I'm gonna give this a proceed with caution still. I don't think it reaches the levels of a slash it. I just really think that the marketing did this movie injustice. And I think that overall, like if you watch this review now, kind of knowing what to expect, you might actually enjoy this a little bit more than I think we did, because again, we had these expectations. We kind of had this understanding of what the film bills itself as. Both the posters are really leaning into it, and it's just not there. But overall, I think that as a thriller, it still could have some very strong elements, like Luke said, a little pointed with the dialogue at times, a little bit more kind of, okay, yeah, everybody's a little too in the know, a little too smart at times. But I think overall, it's not a bad outing for the creative team. I think that Sebastian Doran definitely shows some very big strengths here. I think that, the performance again of Alan Leach really makes me intrigued. I'd love to almost see this character in a different film, because I thought that he did a really solid job. And I think that, again, Nina Bergman, she kind of pivots between, having some really strong moments and then some really underwritten moments, but I don't necessarily put that on her. So, I think with a little bit of stronger writing and a little bit, again, choosing which side of the aisle you want to step on, I think that we could have had a winner here, but for me, it's a proceed with caution.
Yeah, and for me, I'm going to second that as well. I think there's a great half hour here. I think, taking those elements and boiling down, you would have a really fun half hour. I think there were some
Would have been
great,
a great short film, yeah.
yeah, there are some great drone shots of the landscape and the snowy terrain. I think were well done. Alan Leach, again, without spoiling anything, to expand upon this character, or for him to dive deeper down to that area of characters, I think he would have, a great career. I think he really sells that dynamic of really getting into his head. I think that was really well done. And, I think overall there's some decent elements. I think the opening, when we have a couple more characters, I thought there was some great tension built there, and there's a pretty decent twist throughout this film. So, I think proceed with caution. Certainly, I think there are some great elements that are at play here, just never fully got to where we would want it to be. So overall, proceed with caution.
Agreed. But alrighty, guys, that's gonna wrap us up here for Cold Meat. Let us know if you're gonna check this thing out. It is available on VOD right now, so I know that you can pick it up, I think, through Apple and basically anywhere else that you can find video on demand. Don't know if this one's gonna be getting a Blu-ray release, but either way, it will be available. I'm sure this will hit a streaming service at some point as well for you. But again, just know if it's gonna keep billing itself as a Wendigo film or a creature feature, please just know that it's not that, because again, the movie isn't awful, it's just very, very misguided, and that's obviously that's going to affect our rating a little bit. So but yeah, other than that, that's everything we got to say about Cold Meat. So yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff up on the channel. You guys are really loving and embracing our review of stop motion, which clearly that's the winner for the weekend. I think of all the films we've seen, I think that film is knocking it out of the park.
Oh,
And
I
I
will support it.
love seeing all of the positive feedback from you guys who went out early and saw it and then are reporting back to us. I think that's awesome. And yes, like Luke said, go out and support it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely got some good stuff up there. But that's all for now. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horse shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.